Good morning, everyone, and welcome everyone to another new day. Today, we'll continue our book reading, The Toyota Way to Service Excellence by Jeffrey K. Liker and Karen Ross. Remember, we're still talking about lean transformation in service organization. And we're in chapter 5. And chapter 5 is saying macro process principles. That has been teaching us the principles that you need to follow when you want to make things easy and effective in your organization, most especially when it comes to customers. So yesterday we stopped at page 142 where it was talking about where it was telling us more about the about value streamlining values to develop macro visions. So today on page 142, we'll be looking at lean principle, inform target condition to strive for. Lean principle, inform target condition to strive for. And I read, said in Toyota Kata, Mike had a moment of clarity when he realized that tools like pull and standard work were neither process improvements to be implemented nor ends unto themselves. Instead, he called them possible target conditions. A target condition is a work pattern that we hypothesize will move us to a step closer to our desired goal. Consider a sport example. A desired outcome in basketball is to get the ball into the basket a high percentage of the time when we get to the free throw line. We might set as a target to accomplish this 80% of the time, and currently we are at 60%. Simply telling a shooter that the goal is 80% can perhaps lead to more practice. But if the posture, motion, and release of the shooter are poor, there is probably a limit to how well the person will be able to shoot. A good coach will observe the shooter and notice obstacles to successful outcomes. Perhaps the coach will video the shooter in action and go through the tape in slow motion with the shooter so they both can see what happened. The coach is trying to understand the current process of shooting that leads to the outcome of hitting or missing the basket. A good coach will avoid in on inundating the shooter with a long list of things to improve. The shooter will simply be overwhelmed in thinking about so many things at once. How to set the feet, how to position the arm, how to hold the ball, how to move the arm and body in the shooting motion. It is more effective to suggest one thing to practice at a time. Perhaps it is a change in the initial stance of shooting. Desired stance can be considered a target condition that the coach, through experience, believes will lead to a higher success rate in getting in the basket. And perhaps that alone might be expected to increase baskets by 2%. And perhaps that alone might be expected to increase baskets by 2%. Both the way of shooting and the expected result will constitute the next target condition. After practicing that one thing sufficiently to achieve that target condition, the coach will again observe and suggest a next target condition, and so on. In other words, the coach is breaking down the complex tasks into specific desired pattern, which are learned through practice one by one, and in a target for result. After each condition, the coach will decide what is next based on what was learned from the last experiment. The best coach will follow a somewhat different process for each student based on the student's unique circumstances. Even though the coach has a general set of principles and a sense of an approach that works, through this iterative learning process, students will get better, though perhaps with setbacks here or there. The setback are some of the best opportunities for the coach to teach the student and for the coach to also learn. Deming taught us to focus on the process as well as the result. Identifying target conditions bring into focus process patterns we are trying to achieve. We often think of a tool such as value stream mapping or one piece flow cell as a generic solution to a problem. We think that we aren't getting the improved results we expected from our lean management system because we didn't create value stream mapping of all our processes. Or we might think that if we have a cell, we'll automatically get better flow, better productivity, more consistent production, and better quality. When Mike Roda when Mike Roda reflected on value stream mapping, he realized the future state map is actually providing a set of challenges and target conditions. Each piece of the mapping, such as setting up a cell, is actually a bundle of target condition. If we think of establishing one piece flow cell as a target condition, it provides a totally different image than the usual one of implementing a tool. First, we must answer the question, why? What is the challenge? And why do we believe a cell gets us closer to our particular challenge? A good understanding of the current condition relative to the challenge will help us identify whether this target condition or some others make sense to test. If our analysis and time at the Gemba suggest one piece flow cell, it is worth pursuing. Then we would view this as a target condition. On a certain date, the future on a certain date in the future, our goal would be to have the cell operational. The concept of a target condition as something to strive for is well illustrated by Rotter's diagram. Okay, so this is where we'll stop for our reading this morning. Still talking about lean principle, inform target condition to strive for. Inform target condition to strive for. What is actually, in summary, what is actually telling us that yes, you may have a whole lot of challenges and at the same time have a whole lot of solution. But first of all, you have to know if it's a or is it going to be streamlined or do you want to take it one after the other. There are some challenges that demands that everything has to go through this process. After this step, this is the next step, this is the next step. Or okay, let's just do it at once and we're going to learn everything at once. Like he used an example of the basketballer who has issues with putting balls into the basket. As a coach, what a coach does is he observes, watches the video of the player and know what and where these challenges are. Then he decides if it's something he's going to take one step at a time, then it's fine. If it's something he's going to want to train that player for at once, he will. But in the case of this player, like the book explained, depending on this kind of student, that is the way, because each individual is different, each problem is also different depending on individual. There are different ways you deal with different individual. There are different ways different individuals learn, and there are different ways to solve different problems. There are some problems you don't just solve at once. There are some problems that you have to go through processes, steps, one step after the other. So it's trying to tell us that we should first of all observe these challenges that we are having. What are they? Is this something that we want to do at once, or is it something that we want to take step by step? Like I said, lean principle, inform target condition to strive for. So target that condition that you feel it is important and most, that is going to that is going to cover every other thing. Like let's use an example as the NL Corporation. They found out that the transaction process with a 10-line complaint from customer is what is actually taking time and is also going to solve that problem. That was the first thing they did. They actually used the lean principle for that, to target that condition, and they solved that problem before every other one came on board. So you have to solve the problem one after the other. So if you're looking for a desired outcome, you have to know what you're going to do, know which steps and which processes you're going to take that is going to give you that desired outcome. Like he said, analyze it, know the method that you're going to use, know the processes that you're going to use one at a time, and that is going to be effective at that moment, that is going to give you results. Another thing the book is telling us that it creates a room for both your coach and your staffs or your team members to also learn for what from that challenges that your company or organization is actually going through. Everybody will learn and also bring up more solution. It will also help them in future to be able to tackle this kind of challenges whenever they see it. So I hope with our book reading this morning will understood what lean principle informed target conditions to strive for actually means. Thank you.